Welcome back to the Tidy Arm Hanger. This is Mike, and I'm coming at you with the weekly news and review for January 9th, 2022. We've got a lot of stuff going on this week. Obviously, we've got a ton going on with Masterpiece. This is the week of Fans Toys reveals, and we've got some Legends, we've got some Mainline stuff. We've also got some stuff going on with Star Wars. We've got some stuff going on with the Ramen Toy Silverhawks, and we also got some really cool stuff going on even with G.I. Joe Classified. We're going to talk about all this stuff coming up. Okay, first off, let's talk about some cool stuff showing up at Show Z right now. You can order your Fans Toys FT47 rig right now, $109.99 from Show Z. It's coming into stock, so if you place your order now, as soon as they're processing the pre-orders and then the new orders, they'll go out after the pre-orders. So that is 6.3 inches tall. It's releasing right now. Pretty solid looking figure, pluses and minuses. I don't have mine just yet to do a review, but I will soon. Next up, we have a Magic Square, the MS-B33 Deadly Perceptor reissue, but I actually think there's more to it than just a straight reissue, because I have mine, I have this figure, and this one looks painted. Mine's not painted. This one's a little higher price point than mine was. I think it's like $10 more than what mine was when it came out, but it's been a while, so I don't really remember. But looking at this, it really does look like it's painted. Maybe this is that metallic repaint or something. Maybe somehow the wires got crossed and something got missed, but I think this one's painted. Don't hold me to it or anything, but you can see the picture for yourself. Now, for sure, this one's painted, and they have in stock now their X-Transbots MX-27 Jansen Perceptor for $129.99, and this thing, from what I've seen and what I've heard, it is great, it's good, and I'll have mine to do my review soon also. So starting out with some Fans Toys, they are off to an amazing start. Just tons of reveals, updates on projects, pictures this week, but this is their pipes, the FT57 unpainted prototype so far. So kind of what the newest reveals, it's obviously just a heavy remold and rework of their Huffer, and it looks good. It looks like it's supposed to, and there they are side by side. And I expect this to be as well painted as their Huffer. The Huffer's got a lot of paint, but I actually kind of look at them side by side. I like the overall aesthetic and appearance of the pipes better than the Huffer for a couple of things, but I'll save that for the review. So getting into looking at all of these mini-bots together, these are the reworked or remolded figures from one mini-bot into another mini-bot, and so they all look pretty good. It's a nice cohesive little team here. We sort of know what we're going to get, but there are so many parts that have been redone, so I think there's more new parts than shared parts, but I'm sure there was a reason they did what they did and how they did it. Looks pretty cool as a team. Looking at Outback right here, this is one of those characters that's probably not on the top of people's list, but it's cool enough to make it, to get it, to have it. So I wouldn't put him as like really obscure. Let's put him as like second tier in a way, or third tier. But I think he looks pretty good the way they did it. It does have that shiny metallic paint on the torso and the flat matte paint on the limbs. Looking at the alt mode here, and there it is in the alt mode, looking pretty good. Pretty much exactly what you'd expect if you already had the Brawn. They put out some really cool looking pictures of their Tesla, and so I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, this versus the X-Transbots version, I think this makes the arms smaller, and it's really the main big difference here, but aesthetically they look very similar. The smaller arms, and this has the clear plastic piece on the chest, so aside from that, it's just kind of going to be a battle back and forth. Who's better? I'm not sure, and there's no clear winner just yet, but I think some people will like these smaller arms to make it look a little bit more toon accurate. X-Transbots has got beefier biceps. Looking at about 8 head sculpts right here, and I'm guessing you get 8 different heads. I mean, I'm just guessing here. I guess know, but I don't know. 8 different heads, and then 2 additional faces on top of it. So really interesting. It's kind of cool. It's a little unlike Fans Toys to give so many accessories. They're usually minimized accessories and maximized quality on the figure. So I'm not sure where it's going with all this. Here he is with his dynamic pose, and I really don't think it's really all that dynamic, to tell you the truth. But still, they're showing some articulation, what he could do, and it looks pretty cool. It's a pretty cool looking figure. It's going to be a tough battle between this and good old X-Transbots. So Fans Toys also put out more pictures of their Trailbreaker and their Hoist. And the thing about this is that these figures do look pretty good. Looking at the hoist, you see some back metallized on the legs there, and that's pretty awesome. And so there's some pluses and minuses to both of these figures versus the X-Transbots counterparts, and there's also a multitude of other third parties that have made those other ones, but these will probably be the heaviest, most use of diecast. There's a couple of pluses and minuses, but let's do a quick comparison to X-Transbots side by side. The left is X-Transbots, the right is the Fans Toys, so you could decide right now, looking at this picture, which one you like more, and I'm sure if you're in the Fans Toys camp, you're going to stay in the Fans Toys camp, but if you already have the X-Transbots and maybe hoisted in your favorite character, is this worth upgrading for? Not really sure yet. There's also pictures of the Fans Toys FT48 Jive, and I think it looks pretty good. It looks pretty solid. It's got kind of a real nice toon look to it, but still has a bit of a sheen and a shine to it. Kind of what we talked about Friday. I do kind of like the way this looks now. There is question about will he be able to utilize the doors wide open on the back, and I didn't see that in the pictures just yet. But looking at this, it looks like you might be able to just flip them around. We don't know just yet. That's one of those things that's part of the character that we're used to, having the doors on the back there. But anyway, let's take a look at the alt mode here. And we will look at the alt moded group shot of all these that they're putting out. But here it is in alt mode. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty solid. I like the back metallized rims on this thing. Doors open up. They're trying... See, the way the doors open up like that, it just makes me think that you could use it like that on the back. But I don't know if the windows fold down or what's going to go on with that. Still interesting to find out more information on this guy. And here is the FT49 Phantasm. More pictures, better pictures, and these are actual test shots or promo shots or actual prototypes. So looking at this one does look like it's got quite a bit of paint to it. I'm hoping that's real paint on there and looking good. And it looks pretty solid. You know it's going to be heavy and full of die-cast. But I'm still kind of wondering, I think that the Transform element did a great job. That's a great looking figure, and I don't know how much better this would be. But of course, this is going to be heavier and more die-cast use than what they use in the Transform element. And overall, and of course, it's going to be up to your own aesthetic and your preference. Looking at the alt mode right there, and that still looks pretty good. And, you know, I think that the alt mode never really was a problem with any of the versions of this figure. The alt mode's pretty solid. It always comes down to the bot mode and how that goes. But I do see how kind of the driver's seat elevates up a lot higher than I would have expected. That's a little bit different look to it. But there it is, and it should be... Well, maybe this thing's coming out this year. So here's the group shot with all of them. And so now you can see kind of the size comparison of these guys. And they seem to be right in line. So I'm starting to wonder these Carbots are going to scale more with Takara Carbots than the Stunticons, than what we've been seeing with even the aerial bots and those kinds of things. So the aerial bots and Stunticons are going to be bigger than what these guys are. So that's more or less to align with Takara, in my opinion. But then we don't have a side-by-side with Takara pictures either. And here are some alt mode comparisons, so you can get to see what the alt mode looks like. And they look okay. They look pretty good. Again, it comes down to the other competition that's out there. How much better will these be and worth the new price points? So we've got the new Fans Hobby MB20 Armada Overlord and the MB21 Armada Tidal Wave prototypes images here. And I'm not exactly sure how big these are, but looking at them, they are very early on. They've got this just kind of that greenish looking plastic for the prototype plastic. And comparing them side by side compared to some of the other ones, I believe these are in a Masterpiece scale, but I might be wrong. Those are supposed to be the Armada, Prime, and Megatron. So anyhow, these should be working on these, and they should be coming up for pre-order pretty soon at some places when they get them more further developed. So we got pictures of another train bot that's coming from the Takara Transformers MPG collection, and this is the Gatsui. And the thing about this is that this bot mode, in my opinion, looks way better than Shuki bot mode. So I don't know if it's just because it's the type of train and how the transformation works, or if it's just the fact that they weren't happy with the first one, we're going to do better on the second one. Okay, let's do a better job on the second one. So I'm not really sure, but it's still a nice looking train, and it has a leg there. So there is no word on price just yet. But this thing is based off the realistic EF65 1000 electric locomotive. So we got the Starscream MP52 Coronation set. This is the campaign, and it's kind of silly. You have to mail improvement purchase to get this. You have to have all three of the Seekers, and it has to be mailed in by February 28th, You can only do this if you live in Japan. There's a whole lot of weird, crazy stuff. Hopefully, not every one of these sets is claimed and they get put out on the market so that we can get our hands on them. But there's got to be a better way to get this, or, as we know, third party will step up and make an even better set for way cheaper. Well, this is technically free if you bought all three of them, but kind of interesting how they're doing this, or in other words, I don't like how they're doing it. And I believe this is the packaging, the box that the Coronation set is going to come in. So here it is. The Coronation set, I believe, is all that's in there. You don't get a star screen with it. You just get a Coronation set. That's my understanding of how this is going. Although I've touched on this a little bit last week, but now the deformation space is showing up the Skywarp, so all three of them are now available to order and to get in your collection, filling out the trio. And the thing is that you can get the deformation space first before KO companies would even put out versions of Takara's, because deformation space is really doing their own thing. KO companies are knocking off Takara. They want to see exactly what Takara does, what they include, and how they do it before they put theirs out. So really, if you're going the route with the DS space, you're doing even better and getting it quicker than if you go KO, and in some cases even with Takara's. Okay, so this is a little bit oddball, and I don't even like talking about this stuff anymore because it really plays with my emotions, but Like Toys has 3D printed parts that they make for combiners. I don't know how to get my hands on them. I don't know how to order them. I don't know how to get the files as a SRT file, STR file. I don't know how to get the files for even me to ask a friend of mine to 3D print stuff for me, but it still looks so amazing that you could take the Jinbao Gravity Builder and add a few upgrades to it, and this thing is almost exactly the same size as the Toy World one, but it still looks really good. I mean, this makes the Gravity Builder look very G1, very tuned. It looks amazing with these parts. They really need to do a full-on production run, offer an upgrade kit, just make this happen, because it would sell like hotcakes. And then again, we'd probably run out of the Jinbao Gravity Builders because people would be wanting them so bad. Last bit of the Masterpiece news we're going to talk about. For a figure that has not been officially announced, this thing has been promoted like crazy. This is the biggest promotion of a figure that's not officially announced ever. And another picture showing up, and look at the little number on the side there, 12140. Anyway, this thing is, I think it looks okay. I really wish the arms were a little bit longer, and yes, we know the feet, whatever, but at the end of the day, I'm going to get this, and I'm going to put it on my shelf, and he's going to be right next to Bumblebee, and I like my Bumblebee, so there we go. Okay, so sliding in some Legends news, there's more pictures of the Magic Square's Light of Victory, the MS Go2. Okay, anyway, this thing, B46, there it is. This thing does actually look pretty cool. It looks good, but it's not painted, and that's kind of one of my problems with Magic Square. And they put their figures out and they're not painted, and then down the road we get an EX version or whatever, and they're just a little bit more for the paint on it, and I would have rather waited and gotten the paint. But still, I think this does look pretty good. They're trying to mimic more or less the MP44. Even like you look at the hip flaps, how they do the hip flaps, and how they do the thinner legs and all that kind of stuff. And their first design was pretty bulky, just like their Masterpiece version was pretty bulky. Here it is in the alt mode, and the alt mode looks pretty good. It looks very tune accurate, and it's very, very clean. And then again, it starts making me wonder, if they're going to go to all the trouble making another Prime for Legends, why don't they make another Prime for the Masterpiece? That always kind of surprises me. But one last thing is the trailer's bigger. Like, it's a much, much, much bigger trailer than they had with their first one, or I believe that's with their first one, or maybe that's comparing it to David. But anyhow, either way, it's a pretty good sized trailer. Now, just so you know, Magic Square put out a statement saying that the 2.0 will not contain the combat deck. So there's some sort of production flaw. I don't know if they're going to mail it out later, or if you're going to get it later, or if they're going to adjust the price. I have no idea. I just know they show all these and they say no combat deck. So they take time for other people to show off trailers, and then we see this. It's always fun to see the kind of production pictures, but it's going to be missing a part. Wouldn't it be fun to live in the land of the plenty and early Transformers, where you have not only the David, but you have the the Legend 2.0 Prime from Magic Square. Magic Square Masterpiece. Side by side, this is the 2.0 versus the New Age, and you can see the paint difference on David. You can see the design aesthetic on the Magic Squares. Like, man, if you get the best of both worlds again. But let's lead into more stuff about this David. So there's going to be 2 more versions. The N27EX, which would be a toy-inspired deco with a metallic finish, and the new G1 toy head. And it comes with all the accessories from the original David, extra hands, trailer, roller, energy axe, all that kind of stuff. And comes with a new face for Agamemnon, their Megatron. And then it also comes with the N27D David, the Gray Sleepy Mode, or Dead Optimus Prime, redeco for you to recreate the death of Optimus Prime as seen in the movie. So, more repaints already coming along. That's how they do it. So if you're jonesing for more of these pictures, you're just going to have to live with the spy Sean. There's a picture of the boxes. This figure's shipping. This one's coming out. So, kind of exciting. There's so much going on with New Age and with Magic Square, but New Age seems to be hitting their stride right now. Magic Square's got more stuff coming, and this battle is going to be going back and forth, but these are produced and shipping out. There's also pictures of their Jones, Jonesing for Jones here, and this is their take on a G1 style Beachcomber, and it looks pretty good, and it looks pretty solid. It's a solid release, solid looking figure. I look forward to getting my hands on mine. Here is an alt mode, and the alt mode looks good too. I mean, this does kind of rival even the Masterpiece, and you can say that about most Legends, but not all Legends, so I think it looks great. More pictures of the MechFans toys, MF52 Pioneer, and this is their KO oversized version of the Magic Squares version of Trailbreaker, and it looks good. Now, I want to say that I grabbed my Magic Square version to compare it to this picture, and either it's the shading or something, but it looks like the whites on this are a little bit darker, more of a gray, where the thighs and the forearms and that kind of stuff. Then it also looks like the windshield and the windows on the alt mode are going to be a little bit more silver than blue. So here it is in the alt mode. You do see some blue to it, but I think the Magic Square one's a little more blue. So color variation, color differences are a big difference in this one, according to just these pictures. Now, this might just, of course, be lighting. We get them in hand. They might match Magic Square a lot more. This will be slightly bigger, and for me, bigger is better. So we got some mainline news here, and it's kind of crazy how much stuff's going on with Masterpiece, a little bit in Legends this week, and not so much in mainline, but still a little bit in mainline. So we do get some pictures of the Buzzsaw, thanks to Crimzeek Reviews, and this is just a repaint, evidently a repaint of the Waspinator. And so, looking at this, it looks okay. Let's see what it looks like in the alt mode, and the alt mode next to the Waspinator pretty much looks like what you expect. It actually kind of looks a little more interesting than Waspinator, more or less because we've seen Waspinators over time. I don't even think that this is the best mold for the Waspinator, so maybe this is the best mold for Buzzsaw. I didn't know who Buzzsaw was until I first started hearing about these leaks of this guy. Alright, so we got some pictures of the Legacy version of Skids, and this is how he compares to a couple of other figures out there with the Bumblebee, and that's the, is that the Siege Sideswipe? No, I think that's the newer one from the Amazon version. Anyhow, that's how he compares, side by side, looking okay. I'm just kind of curious, like a lot of people didn't like the tracks, are they going to like the Skids? I know a lot of people do like the Masterpiece Takara one. Is there any shared engineering? That's all some curious questions. Of course, I don't know yet, so we'll find out eventually. Still looks okay in the alt mode. So we did get some pictures of Legacy packaging, and these are official pictures. These are official pictures. And as you can see, I don't like this open window design at all. It just really bothers me. I mean, I felt like it was real cheap. Like when the Buzzworthy Bumblebee line and that one, I didn't like that. I don't like this. It just feels cheap. But they're not charging you any less. You're getting the whole $23 a figure on this treatment. But this is the packaging. Aside from the open window, I think the packaging is pretty cool. And you have to refresh the packaging. It can't all look exactly like G1 forever, which I kind of actually would like. But here goes the figures out of their packaging. Official promo shots here, and they look good. So we've got the kickback, we've got the Skids, we've got, is that a Chromia down there? And then we also have drag strip. So looking okay, looking full of a bunch of gaps though. This is some gappy looking team here that needs some fillers, sadly. But anyhow, This is the future. We're looking into the future, Marty. So this Tone Zone 7 put a ton of pictures up on the Instagram of the new Studio Series 86 version of Perceptor, and this is the one that I like the most, the Titan Returns comparison. And so if you want to see the other, I think 7 or 12 or something, you got to go look Tone Zone 7 on Instagram. But with this one picture, I just want to show the difference in height, size, aesthetic, and the Titan Returns Perceptor was the best reigning king Perceptor in the mainline since the G1 for a long, long time. But the Studio Series 1's going to beat it, and I have to say that the Studio Series 1 just looks amazing. It looks phenomenal, and I don't think the Titan Returns 1 is bad. I just think that Studio Series looks a little bit better, a little bit bigger, a little bit better. Really awesome, just a major upgrade. What's it, like 7 years later? And there's something else new that's really cool coming out here, and this is the spike for the new upcoming line. This is the Legacy Spike. I think it looks pretty cool. It's a cool idea. For a core class figure, this is perfect. Like, you could work this in with your mainline, or maybe even work it in with your Masterpiece. I'm curious as to how well it scales with the already existing Masterpiece version, and I think this might fix... I'm sure this will fix some of the problems we had with the Masterpiece version in a way, but if you look at it and nitpick left and right, you know, which one's better, I'm sure you'll find good points for the MP and good points for this one. But for this to be $6, I mean, the Masterpiece one was just an accessory add-in. So, there are a couple things that'll probably be upgrade kits for your $10 core class figure coming out to get rear wheels and stuff like that. But I think it looks pretty good, and also cheap enough that maybe you'll get a swappable head. You can do a Spike and a Daniel. That'd be kind of cool. Alright, getting out of Transformers into other stuff. Before we start on Star Wars, I want to talk about a few things. First, Ramen Toy is putting out some promo pics of their Quicksilver for their Silverhawks, and actually I'm not sure what they're calling them. I gotta look into that. What are they calling these things? But I know this is their version of Quicksilver here, and it's showing with the wings splayed out. That's really kind of cool right there. Okay, switching to this picture. I just checked the verbiage. They actually just call it Quicksilver, and the Tallyhawk picture is coming soon. So anyway, here it is with the face shield down and looking pretty cool. Now, these are not going to be like really super smooth and tuned. They're going to have a little bit of a real world, kind of like they did with their 80s Commanders, but they're going to have a really shiny paint. Not vac metalized like we originally expected, but you can kind of see the articulation of these, and that is a big part of why you got the different coloration on the articulation points, so you can kind of see how much articulation they're going to have. A massive amount of articulation, and they look really, really good. I'm excited for these. I like the 80s Commanders, and I really think these are going to be great. Here's the head sculpt without the face shield down, so with the face shield up. And I think that looks pretty cool. I kind of like how they do this. And it does have kind of the beak. And when the shield comes up, it looks like it's actually forming sort of like a hairpiece. So if I'm right on that, that is awesome. Like, I have to admit, that is the best way to do the face shield. It folds up and is part of the hairpiece. And it all looks like it's perfect. That looks great. This is outstanding design that Ace is putting in on this. So love how this is going so far. I look forward to these. And here we go with just showing how the wing goes down. Now, this is one of those things. This is different than how Super 7's doing it. See, Super 7, I think it's just, you have to unclip and clip in wings and do things different. This wing will fold with the arm from the way it looks. So that is awesome. That's really kind of cool. I love to see this a little bit more in person, how it goes. And here it is with the wing out. So it's like the wing will go down behind it and then come back up. And that is slick, the way they do that. I like it. I really do like how that goes. I don't know exactly how it's going to work, but I'm kind of excited for it. Lastly, going to show off this leg and the articulation in the leg and just all of the different joints. Toe joints, which that's awesome too. And then they've got like double jointed knees, and they have a kneecap covering it. So just really cool, next level kind of stuff that they're working on right now. And yeah, I mean, you might have seen this in some of the other Marvel Legends and stuff like that, but I just think that they're going all out, and they're doing a really good job of these. So this past week we saw a lot more attention for this Underground Arsenal 112 turtle shell van. Now, I did discuss this when they had the gray prototypes. I didn't know it was painted. Mega J Retro Channel put out a video showing that it was painted. It also looks like it has light-up lights on the front, which is crazy. And there it is in a color prototypes with some figures, kind of see the size and the scale. It's going to be a pretty big little turtle van going on right there. And the other thing is that, yes, Super 7's making one, but it's $500. This thing was priced around the $250 mark, and sadly it's sold out. But if I know Shozi, then I know Shozi has got more coming after the pre-orders. But don't quote, because I don't 100% know. Anyway, looking at this is the side gunner chair. It looks pretty cool. And this is based off the cartoon, not off the toy, not off any other thing. That's as close to the cartoon as they could possibly get, or, reasonably get. Here's the inside of this, and it looks pretty good. So these color pictures, these prototype pictures got out, and people started talking about it, and this thing sold out quick. And I don't know how many other places you can get this from. Shozi, there's a couple of others, maybe a few other places, but this is like a small run of an item that looks really amazing. This past week, there were a lot of rumors just swirling on G.I. Joe Classified. I stayed away from them because really it's just guessing work at this point. But, there was a rumor about a Serpentor because of a protective box that's going to cover that Serpentor. Turns out it was a protective box for the original vintage version. And now we've got some listings that we don't really 100% know, but I'll just cover it now real quick. So there's going to be a 2-pack coming that's going to have a figure and a pet aerial. So it's going to be a mystery figure with a pet. There's also a vehicle pack like we saw with the Baroness and the Cycle, but this is going to be a Tiger Force Duke and some sort of vehicle, so we don't know what. Hopefully it's not a recolored version of that motorcycle. That would suck, by the way. A Troop Builder pack is coming, so don't know much about that. Now, we already know about the Crocmaster and Fiona, and there's supposed to be some sort of a value pack, $5.99, which we kind of, $4.99, we've seen those little junker figures that are going to be on the store shelves. But there's also discussion of whether or not there's going to be a 2-pack packed of the Tomax and Zaymot, because we originally were told they're packed separately, but I think some of the retailers are going to go ahead and just sell them as a set, and I think that's how that's going to go, and that's where that question came up this week. So a lot of rumors still swirling, nothing at all concrete in G.I. Joe Classified this week. And getting into some Star Wars, lastly, finally we get into some Star Wars here. Okay, now I want to say that I absolutely love the Book of Boba Fett, the show, and flashbacks. Hey, spoiler, there's flashbacks in it. And these characters are in it doing whatever they're doing. So I don't want to spoil it for anybody because it's enjoyable. Some people might want to wait till it's over and binge it. Who knows? But I got to say, I'm truly enjoying it. It feels a lot like kind of picking up where we left off from the original trilogy. And that's what I like. That's satisfying me. I don't want too many crazy new elements in there. And I want a lot of rich history to go along with what I'm watching. That makes it a lot better. So I like the Book of Boba Fett. And that's how I feel so far, episode 2. Okay, so we've got some more pictures of the Vintage Collection figures that are coming out. This is the Death Watch Mandalorian, and we've heard of the Death Watch Mandalorian, but this is a picture of the carded sample here, and it looks pretty good, so I look forward to picking one of these up when I see it in the store. Wait, so I'll never get this? No, I'll never see it in the store. Anyhow, we still have clogged pegs of just one wave, clogging up all the Walmarts right now, but some of the Targets too. Anyway, that looks pretty good. Moving on to the Fennec Shand, and I think that this figure is cool, and it's going to be a big hit because Book of Boba Fett, of course, and a lot of fun with the Book of Boba Fett, by the way. Hey, I did pick up a Rancor this past week for real cheap, just so I can have a modern-day Rancor. Anyway, kind of cool. Let's see, HasLab, you don't got nothing on me. I got a Rancor now. Yoda... Am I going senile? Don't we already have an Empire Yoda? I have a carded Empire Yoda for the modern era. Maybe it's not from Vintage Collection. I don't know. But I got to sift through like 300 figures to figure out if I've got one yet or not. I don't know. The more figures they make in Vintage Collection that seem like they're remade kind of get annoying. Maybe the one I've got's the Saga Collection. I don't know. I know I've got a Saga one, but maybe that's the only Yoda we've got so far. So somebody got their hands on one of these Razor Crests already, theoretically, and the pictures, it looks like it's going to be pretty good. Now, I'm looking forward to mine when it comes in, so I can't say that I'm really like super excited or anything because it did blow up. So where am I going to put it? No, just kidding. It's interesting though because it seems like that little bitty one for the little baby kid one on the toy aisles at Walmart right now is selling pretty well. People are pretty excited over that, and that's tiny. It's not really. It's kind of insignificant in size compared to this, and so this is going to be pretty awe-inspiring. There, here we are with kind of the packaging, like how the things are seated in there and how it's set up. So interesting packaging shot. I do love that it looks super ultra retro with the actual box art. Fantastic. Here we are with the pack-in figures with the Grogu and the Off-World Jawa, and I do want to point out that vac metalized pram is outstanding. Like, I never thought that we'd be sitting around talking about baby carriages in Star Wars, and man, that baby carriage is awesome. I love that baby carriage. I do have to say that when my kids were young, I was happy to score all the baby stuff as cheap as I could, but none of it was vac metalized, that's for sure. Here's the backs of the box art. That looks pretty cool. I like that. Interesting. I actually more like the checklist, the 77, the 79 backs, but if this is all we get, I guess we'll take it. And lastly, I'm going to have to end on a sour note here. Now, I want to say that I don't want to be negative about collecting Star Wars, but it just feels like absolutely nothing is special in Star Wars anymore. Nothing is special. Is the Razor Crest even special? Is this figure special? So I hunted down this figure in a Walgreens to get it back in the day, and now they're reissuing it, so mine's not special anymore. This one's got some special packaging. But what's the point of me hunting down an exclusive so that I can have it just to know it's going to get reissued again? And when this gets reissued in 2033 and then 2037 and all this, that's just irritating and annoying collecting this stuff and nothing's special anymore. So there's not one figure in Star Wars that's ever going to be special again. It's just frustrating to me. And the thing with this is, what if I wanted to upgrade? Well, this one's sold out right away too. So a lot of frustrations on multiple different levels, multiple different angles, and multiple different reasons, all at the same time with this guy. And I don't know. This is another straw trying to break a camel's back on collecting Star Wars. So, what do you think about this week's weekly news and review? What else is going on out there that I'm missing? Because I really want to stay in the know what you guys know what else is going on out there. Like and subscribe. Touch your finger. Ow.